Welcome to Attention Talk Video, where we pay attention to attention. Now, here's your host, 𝐎𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐒.
Welcome. Hey, I'm cognitive engineer and ADHD coach 𝐎𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐒. Today we're here with Alan Brown, and we're having a conversation about Crush It at Work and School Summit that's coming up on August the 25th. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. It's great to see you.
Yeah, if you're a lawyer listener, you're like, what is Jeff doing here? He's got Alan Brown, and he's kind of promoting his summit. And here's the end of the deal: is we're all about good content. And I've known Alan now for 15 years, and he's got this summit that's got some really good stuff. And one of the cool things about interviewing subject matter experts or thought leaders is you learn a lot of really kind of cool things. And I really asked Alan to kind of come on and say, of your years doing this summit and other summits, what are kind of the standout moments, the insights that really kind of that got you, that kind of linger in your mind? And so I'm going to kind of let you take the floor and share that with some of our loyal fans.
Great, and happy to do it. And so, yeah, I went through the interviews that we've done, and just picked out a handful of things that I think might interest our audience here. But I do want to start with my favorite thing from you. I hope you don't. Do you mind if I talk about that?
Sure, if it's good.
I think it's one of your greatest hits. All right. And it's one of the thing I always say this, Jeff, but and I always say this to my audiences, is that Jeff is one who always sort of does this thing that you go, oh my God, yeah. So here's the thing my favorite thing from Jeff, and I share it a lot, and that is when you're procrastinating on something, see if you can ask yourself, what's hard about this? What is hard? Why am I not doing this? And I'll give you an example for me. I hate technology. I'm terrible at technology. And so whenever I notice something that I keep pushing to the next day or pushing to the next day, which is not, I'm pretty good about procrastination. But whenever I'm pushing something off, I go, wait a minute, what's hard about this thing? And 8 times out of 10, it's because it's related to technology. That's why I'm not doing this. And so what that does is it frees up energy to go, okay, now that I understand why I'm avoiding it, now I got a shot at tackling it or delegating it or doing something else with it. But it's so important for us to know why we're procrastinating on something. And so this has been something that I've been using ever since I first heard Jeff talk about it. I don't know how many, 10 years ago or something, when he was on my Crusher TV show. So thanks for letting me share that, Jeff.
It is. I'm glad you brought it up, because when you say that, you can identify what the root cause is. And when you unveil it, you realize, okay, now you can do something about it. Up to that point in time, you're just oblivious and beating yourself up. So thanks for sharing that. I'm honored that stands out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one of these things that's so, why didn't I think to ask that question? So it's good stuff.
Excellent. What else you got for us?
Well, so Brendan Mahan, who many of you have heard of, and Jeff and I know him well. He's got the ADHD Essentials podcast, and he's coming out next year with a book called The Wall of Awful, which some of you are familiar with that. He's a great speaker, and he's a great podcaster too. But he's sharing, in my interview with him, he's sharing 4 things that increase our anxiety and 4 things that reduce it. And I'm not going to go through all of these because we don't have time. And plus, I want you to come and see, the master, Brendan, talking about this stuff. But just to give you a couple of examples. So 2 things that increase our anxiety are, 1, uncertainty. When something's uncertain, when we don't know the outcome or we don't know how to do something, just think about that. It creates more anxiety, and anxiety is not good because it shuts down our prefrontal cortex to some degree. We get cortisol cranking, we get stress, and we can't be at our best. So look for any time there is uncertainty. And I'm having started with Jeff's great question, what is hard? See if you can ask yourself, what is going on here that's creating this anxiety? Is it uncertainty, or is it something related to that? And another thing that increases our anxiety is powerlessness, not having power. When circumstances are sort of out of my control, somebody else is doing something, we get anxious because we don't have power over it, because we can't control the events. So that creates anxiety. And it's great to know that that is a thing. Oh, that's right. I see what I'm anxious, why I'm anxious about this, because I can't do anything about it. Now, let me give you two on the flip side of each of these two things. The two things that can decrease anxiety. And again, this is 2 out of 4 things that Brendan's going to be talking about. So one is the opposite of uncertainty, which is certainty. And so if we can get to somewhere where we can get a little bit more certainty around something, maybe that's doing a little bit of research or talking to someone or talking it out with ourselves, that will decrease our anxiety. And then the other side of the powerlessness coin is what's known as agency. I have control. I can put things into motion, etc. And I think the best way to look at this, and again, we'll want to hear Brendan. You'll want to hear Brendan talking about each of these. Is if we are feeling powerless, what we can do is ask ourselves, well, what do I have control over? What do I have agency over? What can I affect in this? One of the other fabulous, one of my favorite guests on Crusher TV, in addition to Jeff and Brendan also, is a friend of mine who's a test pilot for the F1. He was the lead test pilot for the F-117 and the F-117 stealth fighter, and then the F-32 something. I forget what it was. So this guy's a badass, but he talks about when your plane is, and it's happened to him, is heading toward the ground because your engines have gone out or whatever. He says the first thing you need to do is decide what you can control and what you can't. That's agency. So I just wanted to toss in there. So that's a little bit on what we'll be talking about with Brendan. And I don't know if you want to chime in on that at all, Jeff.
If you're a longtime listener of Attention Talk Video, you know why I brought him on, because the what's hard, right, is the diagnostic tool. I don't have control. Like, okay, I don't have control. What do you have control of? I promote problem solving and the ambiguity we talk about in procrastination. So what I like about this is aligns with the viewers of what we had, because this is all kind of dovetailing together. It's all about kind of problem solving. And so now you guys know why I haven't done this with anybody, but I'm doing it with Alan, because this is great content. So keep going.
Great. So another one of the interviews that I wanted to share a little bit of is with Coach Bonnie Minku. She was inspired by another coach named, I think, Catherine Kane or Christine Kane, I think. And it's something called the 5 waiting traps, reasons we don't proceed on things. And she gets into detail on each of these waiting traps. And I just want to share a couple of them. First, I'll just put out an obvious one, and that is it's a waiting trap of waiting for perfection. We all know what that means. I'm waiting for things to be just right, right? So I don't even need to really talk about that. But Bonnie talks about it in an interesting way. But I want to just briefly mention a couple of others that I thought were really intriguing. One is waiting for permission. Right? We're waiting for permission. We're waiting for sort of someone to come around and say, yeah, no, that you should do that. That's for you to do. And you go, no, that's not for me. I'm not the one to do that. Waiting and I'm sort of quoting the source that Bonnie got this from. Waiting for permission is based on a paradigm that says others who are more important, significant, more real than us get to grant us permission to make the decision we want to make. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Yep. And Bonnie sort of concludes by saying, the thing is, no one can give you permission but you. You are the most important figure in your decision-making process. And I just think that's beautiful language, and it's so true. And if we are ever waiting for permission from some entity or some person that just remember, we get to make the decision. And then sort of related to this is another waiting trap, which is waiting for certainty, right? It's akin to waiting for perfectionism. I can't, there are too many unanswered questions here, or I'm not sure how this is going to work out or whatever. And we can always find reasons to build a case for uncertainty. It's so easy for us to do. And I contend that this is one of the very smart things our outlaw brain does, because our outlaw brain wants us to avoid trouble, avoid discomfort, avoid failure. Don't do it. Let's just go over here. Hey, let's, instead of working on a hard thing, let's just do this easy thing over here on the phone. And so when we are waiting and waiting and waiting for certainty, we end up procrastinating. We end up not fulfilling our goals. We end up not living to our
Yep.
potential. So that's a little bit from the interview that
Yes.
we'll be
Well, yeah,
doing with Bonnie.
same thing. I've had this philosophy. I got to decide the best of the worst decisions as a means to kind of get by that. Like, I don't have perfect information. I don't really have what I want, but I got to make the best decision of all the bad decisions that I've got. Same type thing. So I love that one.
Yeah, and I would just add to that too, Jeff, that we got to watch out for the false reasons we might
Yep.
inject into,
Well, yep.
don't do this, because those can come from our outlaw
Yep.
brain that's saying, no, no, don't stick your neck out. Don't do anything that might be, right?
Absolutely.
So the other thing that I wanted to highlight is something that is a gift that I provided to the VIP upgrade package, which is just to put that into context. So we've got 20 experts, 20 of the top back to school, back to work experts that I've interviewed for this summit. And this is our third annual, which is really kind of cool. But each day we have 5 experts speak, and each day those interviews are available for free for 24 hours. So it's a free summit in case Jeff or I didn't mention that. But if you want to have a full years of access, you can upgrade to our VIP package, which is just like $97 or something like that. But if you do upgrade, you will also get an exclusive video from me called The 4 Power Rituals That Can Change Your Life. And I'm just going to share 2 of them here. And these are 2 of the things that, for instance, in the last couple of weeks where I've been really buckling down on a presentation that I've been writing. It's a big one. It's a whopper, and I look forward to sharing it. But I've been able to work 3 to 5 hours every day, and it's the biggest reason I'm able to do that. In addition to all the other little productivity hacks that I do that I share with my clients and my audience, is when I go to sit down to work on a particular thing, I do what I call a work session ritual. I make a big deal of every major work session, right? So what that means is before I sit down to work on something, I guzzle some of my water and I refill this thing, maybe some electrolytes and a little bit of trace minerals. I get my protein. This is kind of ugly, but this is my plate that I had. This is an apple smeared with all kinds of peanut butter. So I'm getting fiber and glucose and protein. So I've got, usually I try to get 20 plus grams of protein in my tummy before I start a work session. And then I've got my hot beverage. I'm a decaf guy. And then, I make sure I got my meds nearby if that's your thing. I sit down and I pull out a sticky. Here's one I did as a demo just the other day, and I will write on a blank sticky to do, so that I now have a to-do list with nothing on it, and then I write the one thing that I'm working on. Okay. Now I take that sticky. I know some of you have heard this a million times, but if you're not doing it every day, you need to hear it again. So I put this down right next to my laptop, and then I sit down. I've got all these things here: my hydration, my protein, blah 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 blah, and then I set a timer for 1 hour or 90 minutes or whatever. And I go and I just start into the thing. That work session ritual making a bigger deal of what it is you're doing is so much more powerful than, all right, well, I guess I got to work on this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to open my laptop and get my hands. Okay, here we go. That's not the powerful way to go into it. That's sort of a powerless, almost victim-like way. Oh, I gotta versus, all right, here's what I'm doing. I got my protein, I got my hydration, etc. So that's a work session ritual. I invite you on any difficult task you're sitting down trying to do, particularly something you've been avoiding because it's hard, is to do a work session ritual like that. All right, protein, hydration. And the thing that follows on, yeah, please.
If I may, if what you've described really mirrors my experience as an athlete, and I think
knew you were going to say that.
others, because when you're getting ready, like if I'm at Olympic trials or NCAAs or whatever, I've got a ritual because I'm like, okay, it's time to get serious about what I'm doing. And you go through these types of things because I'm trying to in athletic, I'm trying to peak my emotions and my intent all in that same moment. So there's these rituals that we go through, and I think a lot of athletes go through with a lot of intention in order to make that happen. And so I wanted to share that because I think it's a mirror. It's the same thing, but I wanted to relate it to other things that are not seemingly the same thing, but are. So keep going.
By the way, yeah, and deserves mentioning that some of you may not know this, but Jeff is a former top collegiate swimmer, and also a coach, so he knows this, and I think that's such a perfect analogy to this. So thank you for sharing that. There's another thing that athletes do, I'm guessing, Jeff, is they recover. They spend time recovering. Now, in the context of a work session ritual, when we're trying to write something difficult, or work on a spreadsheet or whatever that is, we're going to hit a wall at some point. Now, I might set a timer for 60 or 90 minutes, but I'm still going to hit a wall. I might hit a wall 30 minutes in. I might hit a wall 70 minutes in. But somewhere along the line, my brain's going to hit a little trough. Yeah. This is called the ultradian rhythm, and we all hit troughs. And what does that mean? For most of us, it means I need a break. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go choose one of these magic buttons that gives me dopamine hits, which I perceive as being restful or restorative. It's not. It's just going to drain more energy. I'm not going to lecture you on this. But here's what I do. I have a little menu of things that I can do when I hit a wall. Because I want to do what? I want to come back to that work session and keep going, because I want to get it done, man.
Yep.
So I choose from, well, first of all, I always get up. I stand up. I move. You might stretch. But I might walk around the block once. I might go and re-up my protein. I might go and re-up my coffee, my hydration, whatever. Movement is key, because I'm driving freshly oxygenated blood up to my frontal cortex where it needs to be. I might literally go outside and pull a few weeds. Even if I'm dressed like this. Yep. People, my neighbors, will be like, there's that guy who wears the suit pulling weeds, and he's got a nut job. Somebody call the mental institution. But this is powerful, because when we then come back to our work session, we can go, okay, I got my hydration, got my protein, got my coffee, got my da-da-da-da-da, and here we go again. Yep. And we set another timer. That's what I got for you today, my friend, Mr. Copper.
So I really probably speak more of this as a swimmer. I used to swim about 15,000 yards a day, which is not quite 10 miles. And before you see any major swimming event, swimmers go through what's called a taper. They go through a resting phase, and I would go from 15,000 yards a day down to 1,500 days over the course of 3 weeks, because rest does not happen overnight. It takes time. And I would argue, like I would drop my time like 10%. I mean, it's profound, the difference that's kind of making this happen. And I'm relating it to, all too often, we don't think of rest as being something, but it's important for recovery and for pulling stuff together. What you're saying is I'm exerting myself mentally. I'm giving myself a momentary break. And we're not talking about other stimulation. It's just talking about letting your mind wander. Right?
Yes.
As a swimmer, we would rest. It's like, I don't want to be on my feet. I don't want to be moving around. I don't want to be doing that. So the mental rest that we're talking about is letting your mind kind of wander around, not get sucked into something. And
right.
What you're saying is, we could do a whole thing on it, but it's subtle. But I wanted to kind of bring that up because this is all related to recovery, but also related to intentionality, and really kind of saying, this is hard stuff. I'm going to go through this ritual. I'm going to recognize it, and I'm going to stand up and do it, not kind of blow it off like it's easy and kind of like slough your way through it. So kudos.
Yeah. I want to just tag on to that. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm being judgy, because I use my phone too, but these things are the opposite of restoring. They are pulling more energy. So you will now have, if you've spent 20 minutes on this thing, whether that's in your emails or on an app or your game or your social media, you're going to go back to that work session, or try to, and you will have less energy, rather than if you restore yourself responsibly, you will have more energy. And by the way, I just want to say this too. I once swam 1 mile, and it nearly killed me. So I I went like this when he said 10 miles. But anyway, God bless you, Jeff.
You on board? I'm trying to do a 3,000 backstroke outside where there's nothing to look at but clouds. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, so everybody, Clearly, if you watch my channel, you know I've never done this before. Clearly, there's really great content. It's Crush It at Work and School Summit. We're going to have a link in the description so that you can go learn about it, and we're going to have a couple of links that will flashed up with regard to this a little bit. I also have to go a plug for Alan. My stuff is kind of wacky and a little kind of out there, and every year Alan allows me to kind of come in and experiment around. And this year, I'm also a part of it, talking about some accommodation stuff. And the reason I think this is important is you can go to other places and get the same old regurgitation of it, but he's really a thought leader and somewhat innovative. And I know that he's handpicked these people to kind of come on that really make a lot of sense to bring this stuff together. So if any of this is speaking to you, I would encourage you to go seek out the summit. Again, it's free for the day. You can buy the upgrades. But again, it's about providing you guys content to find a good place to do it. So Alan, I thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks for being a thought leader that has helped lead me. God bless you.
Everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this. Hit the subscribe button. We release a tidbit or nugget each week. And also leave comments. A lot of my shows are derived by the comments that you guys leave. So I hope you enjoy that. And Alan, thank you so much. As you say, take care.